Welcome back to the Pillowfort podcast. This week we're talking about the Chimera ant arc of Hunter x Hunter. If you're reading along with us, that's chapter 186 to 318, and if you're watching, that's episode 76 to 136. So this is by far the biggest arc that we've done. Based on a combination of technical difficulties and other things coming up, we decided to do this all in one. Do this whole arc together as one. So we've got a lot to talk about. So we just got to get into it. And so I kind of, when I was thinking about how we were going to talk about it, I was thinking about maybe let's break it up into like the kind of sections that the arc gives us. So the first section is like all that time that we spend in NGL. And I guess what we'll start with is, and we'll start with Kate if that's all right, but how do you feel about NGL as a country, as a concept, and just go into anything like that you have thoughts on?
Yeah, I think like NGL is a really interesting concept or like country to me, just because like at their face they're like this very, environmentally conscious, all peaceful, there's no weapons here, but obviously there's like the people that are actually running it are, making weapons and like all these other things. So I think it's definitely an interesting concept, and I'm kind of like intrigued as to how aware the citizens are like of like the secrecy that's going on,
Yeah, I felt similar to that. I think a little bit like it made the country super interesting, but with the Chimera ant stuff going on, obviously that was the focal point and that was important. So the NGL made a great backdrop to that. But I was also curious, like, more about what's going on in the country, like this supposedly idyllic preserve type of place. But then they've got all this like underground stuff going on and all these people doing different things. So like I kind of wanted to see more of that. Obviously I get Chimera ants were the focus, kind of a big deal here, but it was a cool setting, cool place for this arc.
Yeah, no, I definitely think NGL is interesting, but when we first, after we get done with Greed Island, the first character that Gon and Killua meet is Kite, who ends up being a pretty major character in this section. And we get, introduced to Kite and his whole crew, and with the whole arc on the table now, what are your guys' thoughts about Kite? And you can go in, if any one of his crew kind of stood out, you can go into that as well. But how do you guys feel about Kite as a whole, everything on the table? Shania, let's go with you.
Yeah, I thought Kite was a really cool character. Definitely his opening moment was a little unexpected. Because first when we meet him, we're like, is this going to be Jing? And are we gonna see Gon's dad? And we're like, no, here's this long-haired blonde dude who just shoots at them first thing. And then has a Nen power that he doesn't even like, or acts like he doesn't even like. So his intro was definitely like, he hit the ground with a bang. And then, yeah, he was really cool. And then he went out with a bang. And then saying he went out isn't exactly correct, but I'm sure we'll get into that more later. But then, like, the impact on Gon, too, like, what he means to Gon and, like, the impact that he has on the story, it made him a super, super cool character to get to see and to get to know that little bit that we did.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I really loved Kite as like a character, as especially like a mentor kind of person to Gon and Killua. Like, I really liked everything about him. I liked his net ability, even though, like you said, Shania, you found it very frustrating. But it seems like, from what we saw, it was pretty powerful, and, like, he seems just frustrated with ones that are super powerful. So it would be cool to see what his most powerful ones can do. But yeah, I thought he was super cool. But also, like, one of the members of his crew, I think Monta was his name. He was the guy with, like, the bear head thing. I just thought his character design looked cool.
He was a just big fluffy bear. It's nice looking guy. Yeah. We'll get Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about Kite too as the we kind of go through the story. But we also are introduced to the titular Chimera ants in NGL, and we start to see kind of like the beginnings of them and the queen first, obviously. What were you guys' like thoughts as you were watching this colony kind of grow, and just some of the first members? What were some of your thoughts? Kate, we'll start. We'll go with you.
Yeah, I thought like it was kind of interesting. First of all, I'm like, what a terrifying world to live in, where a species of ants can become this. Like, that just seems like a horrible place to live, where little insects can become like this like thing that can literally destroy the world, probably. But yeah, I thought like their growing colony, it was pretty interesting. I liked Colt a lot specifically. He was one of the first ones. But yeah, I really liked their colony and everything, so.
Yeah, the intro of the Chimera ants was crazy, especially because this was misunderstanding on my part, but I had been like reading it as Chimera, and so like when we were calling it like Chimera arc, I was like, what is this going to be about? And then I was like, oh, it's the ants. And then I was like, oh, it's the ants. So I went through that little moment of my understanding. But yeah, the evolutions, and then when we brought people into it, and especially with Kurt and Raina and that whole scene tugging at all my heartstrings. I'm like, did we have to bring humans into it this way? And then seeing what humans did to the colony and how that grew and developed, I was like, wow, this is becoming a massive, massive problem. So yeah, that was pretty tense, unexpected antagonist for this.
Yeah. Do you guys have any thought? I don't know if you had any thoughts on Gyro, who was like very quickly introduced. Like, we got his backstory, I feel like in one episode, if I'm not wrong, but like, any thoughts on Gyro? And again, knowing that we have the whole arc, everything we know about Gyro, which isn't a whole lot. Do you guys have any thoughts on Gyro at all?
Are you looking for like like the whole arc right now, or just that one episode?
The whole arc. Anything you got?
I don't know. I want more. I love that guy. He's a weirdo. He's super interesting. I feel like he's gonna. I don't know. He has to come back in some way. Like, that couldn't have been for nothing, but it's such a bizarre thing as it stands right now in the story, and I like it. I think it's like purposely too written, where you think that he's the king for a long time, which was cool, kind of to get revealed. I don't even know. It's not really even revealed, but like I don't know. I'm looking for anything else about him. But I want to know everything.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling in the same boat with that, because like I was one of the ones to like taking it. I'm like, okay, so the king has Gyro like in him. That's why he's so evil. That's why he's so this. And then they start talking about him being alive, and I was like, okay, so he just ran like, and I didn't really care until Welfin talks about him, and the way like Gyro like jogs his memories there and like makes a total change into who Welfin is as an ant and as a person, whatever that distinction you want to draw there is. I was like, okay, Gyro actually kind of dope. Like, I wanna see them find him. I don't need him to be a big thing, but like I want them to find him, and I want to see that happen.
Yeah, I like loved just how like they introduced his character and how they like took us like around with him, just like, because at first we like get his backstory and we're like, wow, this dude is like super cool, he's got a super interesting backstory, and then we immediately think he's dead like right after, and then
Yeah.
and then like we learn he's alive, and then that like resparks the interest, and I think like that's just a super awesome way of developing like a character that we've barely seen really anything about.
Yeah. No, I find Gyro like all you were saying. I think Gyro is super interesting, and I'm super looking forward to if we encounter him again, or if, because I feel like it was even ambiguous if he's even alive. I feel like Welfin was just like, I know he is, you know what I mean? But I feel like he is alive, and I can't wait to see him again. But and I think he could be a really cool villain. or hero even for that matter. I don't know what Gyro is, but I don't know. We haven't really met him. But yeah, going forward, obviously, with the introduction of Neferpito, the first Royal Guard, things get serious. Gon and Killua, obviously get kicked out of NGL, and sent, or they run rather out of NGL, and are given this training task by Netro, who's the chairman, who's going into NGL to start taking care of these ants. But so my question is, now I don't want you to use everything that you know, but what were your first impressions on all the hunters that we meet? So what I'm talking about is Netero, Morel, and Nav, and all of their apprentices. So Palm, Knuckle, and Shoot. When you first met them, what were your thoughts? If you can remember back. If not, that's all right. But we'll start with Shania.
Yeah, so trying to remember first thoughts. I feel like one of my first impressions was just that they seemed like a group that didn't fit together. Like even just like in how they looked and some of their appearances, I was like, okay, we're all hanging out together. This is our crew. These are our apprentices. I mean, Palm had the most distinct impression, but that's because she needed help. She needed some serious help. Everyone else was pretty cool. Like, I liked how they looked and what they could do, and I liked, I guess without getting into it too much, I liked getting to know them and see all their abilities later. And they went from being like this ragtag group that I was like, Netero, what goes in your head when you think about how to train people and like do this kind of thing, to being like, nope, this was the perfect group. Actually, we needed these guys.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about the group is like when I don't know how you guys feel, but just for me, when I got introduced, if we're just talking about what is interesting about first impressions, is Shoot comes off like a loser. Like, I was not excited for him at all. And Nav comes off like the dopest guy ever. And I love that, like, he did that for both of them, because bit of a flip flop that I had with those two on that impression.
Yeah. No
not
kidding.
that. I mean, Nav's cool. We'll get into that, but yeah, I Shoot, man. Who'd have thunk it? Who thought he had it in him?
Yeah.
Who thought?
Yeah, but I definitely liked like the teamwork that they exhibited. Like, they all have their roles to play, like in this infiltration and just like with trying to get everything back under control. I just love that they're all using their abilities the best ways that they can to all work towards the same goal. I think they're really good at working together. And like Shania said, even though like they're so different, I think that's what really makes them work together. Just like in general, I liked Morel's character design. He was really interesting to me the whole time. I kind of liked the use of like smoke and stuff like that to like with his net abilities. So yeah,
no, I think they all leave interesting impressions. I like what you were saying, Cliff, about the kind of some of the first conceptions that you have of them, and then where they end up being is interesting. But we'll get into that later. But going forward, so when
and I just want to say,
they enter
Knuckle rocks, right? Does that just go without saying? Like, we all like Knuckle.
Oh my word, Knuckle rocks!
Like, from the jump, he's just the coolest guy. We'll talk about him more, but that, I mean, start to finish, I got good love there. I just wanted to make sure it was said. At least one of them. We're all there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we're absolutely going to talk about that. Thank you. That was necessary.
No problem.
Going kind of like linearly, not sure that's actually a word, but so the queen ends up, the royal guard, the king is finally born, right? And the queen dies and spends her last moments, and Cold obviously goes to get the hunters. What was your impression on the queen's whole death? So the birth scene of the king, how the queen dies, everything surrounding that. Kate, we'll start with you. What do you think about the whole scene of the Queen's death?
Honestly, what really got to me was Peggy's death. Like, he went so quick. He was just trying to. It really it hurt me so bad. Like, he was just trying to run to the Queen's rescue, and boom,
Peggy deserved better.
He did. He deserved so much better. And just like that really got to me. Also, like, Colt's like whole being at the Queen's bedside thing, that was also like an emotional moment for me. For some reason, I like before that moment had never felt any kind of emotional connection with the Queen, but then I was like, yeah, this is actually sad. Like,
yeah. The Queen's death was like not. I like didn't care about the Queen. I cared on like the two fronts of like the king just ripped himself out early, showing like this is not how this usually goes down. So I'm like, oh crap, what's gonna happen with him? And then watching Colt's like emotional response and like all of the ants' emotional response to that, and I just that got me. And yeah, it was a powerful moment. All these like hunters just standing around like watching the enemy, I guess not really the enemy in comparison to everything else, but watching their enemy die was more pulling at the heartstrings than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, I like, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but I like kind of the ground that scene sets for, understanding what the Chimera ants, like the threat that they pose to humanity. I think is interesting for later, but we'll get into that. But this leads us into the king and his royal guard. So we've seen them. They're out. And like I said, kind of for the hunters, at first what I'm going to do is just first impressions about the king and the three members of the royal guard. Kate, we'll start with you if that's all right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first impression I had of the king was like, okay, so he's just going to be like a ruthless monster that just like goes through everywhere and like tears up everything and just, is just generally a bad guy. But like, I see some development in his character over the course of like the arc and everything, and it has me like confused almost about whether I want to hate him or whether I want to like be okay with his existence, And I specifically liked probably in the Royal Guard like P2, like they were like just really cool. I liked their character design, and their net ability was very interesting to me.
Yeah, my initial impressions were similar. At first I was just like, okay, so they're just unrelenting evil. They are just evil incarnate. It was like I thought they were just going to be like that static, straightforward character. Like I was not prepared for the character development and the emotional roller coaster that these ants were about to take me on and how they developed. Like between the king, P2 a little bit, and just seeing like Yuppie and Poof, like just everything that went on there. They just presented as such a strong, straightforward evil that I was not expecting all of this like nuance and character plot stuff that happened. I mean, it was beautiful, it was crazy, but I was not expecting it.
Yeah, it's another good example of like first impressions can be deceiving, or like you shouldn't write people off so simple from the jump. And yeah, it's cool. I like that big theme running through this arc. First impressions, I don't remember. It's like such a long time ago, but I think right now I'm just like, they all look sick. That's all that I really think right at this point.
Yeah. Oh, they do look sick. That's super true.
But then, like, with everything I know now, they're like, these are like these guys are all like top 10, like my favorite character. I love this group so much as like a unit.
Yeah, they are quite the unit. That's for sure. So we after a little training and preparation period, actually, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm going to slow way down. I almost forgot to talk about Killua specifically has a huge, what I think is a huge character moment in like the middle of this arc when he fights Ramot, the rabbit thing, the Chimera ant. Yeah, I didn't know if you guys had any impressions on, knowing now what that, Killua was like inhibited with this needle the whole time. Do you have any thoughts about, that moment or even the rest of the series with that knowledge now? Shania, I guess we'll start with you.
That was insane. Like, I was thinking, metaphorically, Illumi had gotten in Killua's head, but no, he had put a needle in Killua's head, and he just ripped it out. He just shoved his finger in his own head and ripped it out. And first of all, I don't understand how he did not die from that, but also that was immense. Like, the immediate shift in Killua, I'm like, your power scaling just upped at least like 10 times what it was before. And then I was like, Killua with zero inhibition, this is going to be insanity. So I got really hyped because I was like, he's got nothing holding him back now. Killua is unhindered and ready to go.
Yeah, I definitely, with the implant thing, I was definitely also thinking more along the lines of, like, there's just a lot of, like, trauma and manipulation going on here, but, like, that's not what it was. And just, like, he's just so awesome without it. Like, I loved Killua before this, but just, like, when he took that out, and just, like, that whole fight, and just, seeing his power being, like, what it's actually supposed to be at, I love Killua. He's just so great.
Yeah. So I think we'll go a little bit further with that later too. But I just thought I wanted to highlight that moment because I think it was pretty big for him. But so kind of skipping maybe a little bit ahead, the way that the invasion of the palace is like shown to us, like from like a how the show is written kind of standpoint, is pretty unique in that things are happening really, really slowly. Like, we are, like, the amount of time, I think it's like less than an hour that they were in the palace, like, total. But, like, it's all slowed way down for us, and we experience things, and it's just a very interesting way to do that. And I was kind of wondering what you guys thought about that. If you liked the kind of like slow mo pace that we had for a while, or if you didn't. What, Shania, we'll start over with you.
Yeah, so I liked the slowed down, I guess, in the sense that we got to go through each moment of fight, because there was so much going on, so many fights, mini fights, little things throughout that were amazing, and we're probably going to get into a little bit of them as we go on, of course. But so I liked it in that regard. I like spending the time to see all of these cool fights and these cool character things happening. But it was also like really like confusing every time like the narrator or someone would comment that like, only 5 minutes have passed. I'm like, what do you mean 5 minutes have passed? We've been here for like 20 episodes. So much has happened. And then I was like, how is this happening so quickly? So like, I did like it. I didn't like the reminders that it was quick. Like, I guess that should be a powerful thing, but it just kept throwing me off as I'm like, wait, it's only been 5 minutes? It's only been 30 minutes? What do you mean?
Yeah, I kind of liked it in a way, just because it made sense to me, because in my mind, like, these things would be happening very quickly, because, like, I mean, these people, they can move incredibly fast, like, it's not, it's not like they're moving at our speed, but, like, I definitely agree with Shania, the, like, reminders, like, only 5 minutes have passed, only 3 minutes have passed, I'm like, okay, yes, I do understand now that time is moving slowly. Thank you for the reminder that we're just, taking this step by step.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. I think it's really cool. I think it's the most interesting. It's a really unique way to show how strong characters are. That like we're breaking it down to the seconds, and every second matters. And I like that a lot. There's this cool YouTube video where a guy like edits the Chimera Anarch in real time, and he'll just like split screen everything that's happening and play it at the actual speed it looks at. or it would look like, I guess. And that's a great video if you guys want to check that out. But
yeah, absolutely. I will be checking
I love
that out.
And this narrator, I want to give some props to my narrator. He wasn't like a clock just being like, all right, it's been 2 minutes. Like, he's breaking down like the fundamentals, like insane combat, like we can't even like perceive. Like the maneuvers being pulled here are so impressive that like there were some times where I'm like, oh, I really needed that. Like, I would not be able to even comprehend what just happened if that guy didn't break it down for me. And I like these tight little interactions.
Yeah, and I think it's a good look into the, like you were saying, Cliff, even like the psychology of like what they're thinking and all the time, because it's happening so quick. Like, yeah, I think it adds a lot more to the what is pretty much just a ongoing fight scene for half of this arc. And so I think it adds a lot to it. But
and this stuff is like, it's relatable because like this, it's like with APR and Knuckle and Yuppie, it's like those seconds would feel like an eternity between. Like that's exactly how your feelings would be, how he would feel. Like, how has it only been this much time?
Right. Yeah, because he's trying to wait. Yeah. No, it's really good. And so one of the things about the invasion that I thought was interesting was the involvement of the Zoldyaks. Both Silva and Zeno were there. Zeno, obviously, a bigger part of it. And how it appeared to be that Zeno's mission was just to separate the king and Netro from everyone else. And then after that, he kind of pieced out. So I was wondering, Kate and Shania, how do you feel about seeing Silva and Zeno back again and their involvement in this? What were your thoughts? Kate, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I always love seeing the Zoldyck family. They're just power freaks. They're just very good at what they do, you know. Zeno specifically, their entrance was just, you know, amazing. None of us was really expecting, I don't think, that kind of entrance. Like, I was expecting something pretty cool, but, like, the whole dragon thing, like, and just his involvement with, like, the beginning parts of it were just, I think, made it so much better.
Yeah, that was a wild, like, guest appearance for the Zoldycks to come in. It's just, no disrespect to them because I love them, but it's like two old dudes come falling out of the sky in the most epic of moments. And then I was like, it's Killua's grandfather! And that was really, really dope surprise coming in because they were like the last people I expected. Like, I don't know who I thought would show up, but it was not him. And then just like later the little thing with like Silva coming in, and I was like, I didn't totally get why he was there, but at the same time I was like, all right, you're here too, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting that they were there, and they added something to it in kind of like this subtle way that it seems like they're always like involved in things. I think it gives you kind of almost the illusion, or not the like, you know, it gives you the impression that this family is always like subtly involved in these things that are going on.
Yeah,
but anyway,
yeah, they go where the money's at. And
yeah.
can we just this is like a big meme, right? But can we just talk about one guy who slept on this arc so hard? Like, Hisoka, this is like his wet dream. This is like his paradise on earth. Nothing would have been better for him than to be here. He's
Oh my goodness.
He's really going to be smacking himself.
I didn't know it was
I
that's so true.
I was honestly kind of sad that he never had an appearance in this arc, and I didn't want to be sad that he wasn't there.
But it's like you know that he doesn't know. That's the only way he's not on this island immediately.
There's no way. If he knew at all, he'd
I think that's actually if I would have to guess, I think that's the problem Togashi would have. It's like these characters are like gods, and Hisoka would just go right to he'd be in the palace like without even thinking about it. Like he would not plan at all. So it's hard to place him, but yeah, he really slept on this one.
Yeah, big. But that does lead us to the brief glimpse of the troop that we do get in this arc, which is them defending Meteor City, which we learn is their home, from one of the Chimera ants that just, left NGL. Zazan, I think is her name. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. But do you have any thoughts on the Phantom Troop? We got to see some of their Nen abilities and some new things from some of the members we didn't get a whole lot with in York New or Greed Island. But any thoughts, Shania? We'll start with you.
Some quick fire thoughts. Phaeton, coolest member of the troop, without a doubt. Loved him absolutely. The guy whose body is riddled with holes, no, never want to see him again. He can stay bandaged up forever. I do not care. Everyone else did some cool stuff. Also, Killua's, is that his brother or his sister? I don't know. But whoever Killua's family member is that's there and their agenda, I'm very interested to know what their angle is, what the game plan is.
Yeah, Kalato's a dude, but that's a cool power. I like that one. That's very in line with the Zoldyck brutality.
Yeah.
But
Kate, any Phantom Troop thoughts?
Oh no, it's okay.
Sorry,
I just want to second that. Now, I don't want to second the Phaeton's the coolest member, but that Nen ability rips hard. That was such a shock out of nowhere. I was really into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I love the Phantom Troop. I love how they just show up every arc, They always have a reason to be there. But I really like Sphinx in this arc. I don't know if we really saw his Nen abilities before, but those were really interesting to me. And I liked the mummy hole guy, okay? Okay. I thought he did some really cool things. Because wasn't he the one that did the whole, Jupiter planet thing? That was pretty boss. You gotta admit, that was pretty baller.
Thank you for the
I'm just saying.
Let his name be remembered. It is Banolanov.
Yes, Banolanov. I apologize.
And it is beautiful. Just like he is.
Look, Jupiter was cool, but everything else was super cringy, and I will stand by that forever. I just did not like how he moved. I did not like looking at the holes. Jupiter was cool. Everything else, no. Keep it wrapped up, my friend.
Yeah. Also, I love the Finks love because I love Finks. I love seeing that ability. That ability is so simple but awesome to me that he just rotates his arm and it gets stronger. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a big enhancer mood right there. I like that power.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
I think also the ending to that arc is the most sick Phantom Troop moment ever. The love they have for Meteor City is really cool. And when they're begging to be killed, these not fully formed chimeras, I like that the troops we'll kill you, but you got to come swinging. And it's that. I like the vibe of Meteor City and how cool the troop was there. But especially Finks rocks.
Yeah, Meteor City was quite the vibe. I also like the difference you see between the Phantom Troop, who we consider to be a pretty ruthless group, and the Zoldyck family, because when Killer's brother shows up, he's shouldn't we help Phaeton? And they're no, we're gonna wait our turn. If he can't get it, then we get it, and we're just gonna go through it like this. Until Phaeton starts going through his little mantra chant, and then they're let's just run because we will die here.
Yeah.
So I like how they have things that they love and care about, but then they also have things that are nah, Phaeton dies and one of us gets it. That's just how it is. But at the same time, they're Meteor City is our city and no one's going to touch it. I'm all right, Phantom Troop. I like the nuance here.
Yeah. So, seeing as there is what I consider a lot of development for a lot of these main characters, I'm just going to go through character by character. If we don't have anything to say, then
do you want to start with your boy? Because last time we did this with the technical difficulties podcast, you ended it by saying Morel was your favorite character, but we didn't talk about him at all. So do you want to start with him just so we get him done?
Sure. We can.
Is it still the case?
Is
that still the case?
What?
Is he still your boy?
No, he is not. Morel has fallen. I like him a lot, but he has fallen. No, yeah. So we'll go into Morel first then. What did you guys think about Morel, his whole thing with Poof, even, all of his fights? How did we feel about Morel? Kate, we'll start with you.
I really liked Morel. I gave him a little shout out earlier, but I really love his abilities. I think it's really interesting, the things that he thought of to do with smoke that I don't think anybody else would really think of these things. The smoke jail or whatever, and then the deep purple thing, which was super super useful in the beginning stages of when things were really going down. I just thought his net abilities were really cool.
Yeah, Morel was fascinating because I was like, what? How powerful can the smoke guy be? And the answer was extremely powerful. You go from his fight with Leal, the lion guy in the water, doing that whole thing. That was dope. The shadow clone things he's got operating around the city. His fight with Cheetu was one of my fight, if you want to call it that, was one of my favorite things because it showed how intelligent he was and just how ridiculously dumb Cheetu was. The smoke prison was super cool, and also bearing in mind that the whole fight that Morel has, he's going into this fight at, what does he say? He's at decreased ability. He's not at 100%. He's fighting with maybe a little over half or not much, and he's still holding his own. And I'm just all right, Morel, apparently the smoke guy does a lot, actually.
Yeah, so Morel is my second favorite character. As we'll see as we keep going. But I love Morel. I think the smoke is so cool. I love that his fight with Cheetu reminds me of these very head kind of fights. He uses a lot of his intellect to win these fights and outmaneuver his opponents, which I think is really cool. And also what you said, Shania, he goes into this fight having constantly used his deep purple for an entire week. He's just been using it around the town, and he enters the final battle exhausted because he's been constantly using a technique for a whole week, which is insane to me. I love Morel. He is really good. No longer my favorite, but still very, very cool. Yeah. Cliff, anything on Morel?
I like him. I like the excitement he gets from going into Nen battles where he loves the thrill of not knowing what either person can do, because that's kind of as a viewer what makes Nen battles so fun and interesting. I like all the manly stuff that he does. He's so over the top action movie hero. I really like that he's all about buying the boys a beer when the day is won, and Gon has to prove his worth by punching him in the stomach. Just all those little, and the little thumbs up when he's I'm going to protect this baby with the queen. I really like the corniness of this character.
He's so good. He's so good. I really like him.
And the Leal fight was sick. Low key, one of the best fights in this section, I think. I liked it a lot.
It was really cool. Yeah, so we'll move on to the other hunter that goes in NGL. How do we feel about Nav and his interactions? Shania, we'll start with you this time.
So Nav, I still didn't have a ton of thoughts towards. He just I don't know, I feel like he wasn't as cool as the others. He was important, but he wasn't as cool. I did feel for him towards the end where he's just bald now. This whole experience has just traumatized him completely. Turned his whole hair white. That's not how hair is supposed to work. Turned his whole hair white, and then he lost it. And I'm like, Nav, buddy, are you okay? But he came back. He starts ferrying people out of there. I did not see that coming for him, but he pulled himself together. And then he lost all of his hair. So, Nav, good for you, my man. Good for you.
Yeah, I love the introduction. He's this suave James Bond kind of guy. And then he gets the coolest Nen power. And then it's it's a real letdown. But it's as a kid, I hated Nav. But now, kind of as now when I'm reading it, I'm like, you know what? I can't 100% say that I wouldn't go bald and have 3 pieces of hair on my head if I felt what he was feeling.
That's exactly what I feel.
Yeah.
That's exactly. He was the worst as a kid, but now I'm like, oh, I'm really close to that. I'm really close to that. Kate, what did you think before I go in?
I definitely feel for the guy. I mean, he's lost all of his hair. He's just
It's a tragedy.
I was expecting a little bit more from him, but like also at the same time definitely understand. He did his best. He still did a lot for the group, so I'm not gonna bag on him too much about it.
Yeah, he was crucial. That getting into the palace, and that is like one of the sickest Nen powers ever. I love that power.
Absolutely. Yeah, it absolutely is. So yeah, like Cliff, like you were saying, I hated Nav for years.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, come on, you pansy. But like now I'm like, first of all, I'm like, I get it, I think it serves to like just show how strong the resolve of everyone else who did go is.
Yeah. Yeah, especially
Like,
Gon and Killua,
I think
who felt this exact thing like way more.
Right. And that's what he even said. I'm pretty sure Navi even says, or he thinks that at one point. He's like, how can these kids go back into that when they, they left? Like, they were faced with the same thing I was, and I lost all my hair. And they, like, but so I think he serves to, like, hype everybody out, especially Gon and Killua up. With that, and I even think that like there's something to be said, I think, about the fact that he continues to go back and he doesn't like abandon the mission, because like I think that's like why maybe it like affects him so badly, is because like while he could have just, I guess, run away, you know what I mean, like had nothing to do with this anymore, just tried to get away as fast as he could, he didn't. He still stayed and he still assisted the group and he still did what he could. But he recognized, like, I'm not going to be a combatant in this. I'm going to be useless. It's just, and so I think it's like a cool, like, understanding of like where, what you're able to do and still being brave despite the fact that you're absolutely terrified, which, so now I kind of like Nav is what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
I kind of like Nav. But let's move into someone you were alluding to a little earlier, Cliff. But Shoot. Let's talk about Shoot.
Oh, Shoot.
Go for it, Cliff. Go for it.
That makes me so happy. It's like the exact opposite thing where it's like, I expected nothing of you and you were so sick that it's just, I don't know. It's just weird how it didn't even like seem like bravery. It just seemed like he was just moving his body like in the right direction, which is kind of like a relatable form of courage, like he was just going towards the thing he knew how he had to take care of. And I like that a lot. And then the surfing on the hands was really cool. That was really cool to watch. Yeah. Knuckle and Shoot are like, that was great.
Yeah, Shoot was awesome, especially that like going on his hand thing, and like the narrator's comment where like he has never done this before. So I'm like, this man went from being a coward in a fight, saying he's afraid of everything, to just losing limbs, surfing on one of his own hands, and just fighting, like putting it all down, ready to give it all. And I'm like, look at the growth in this man. It was cool.
Yeah, definitely got like the same vibe that you guys are talking about. Like I didn't really expect much, and I didn't really like Shoot, honestly, at the beginning of his arc, but like through like the battles and just especially his battle with like Yuppie and like all that, him like just keeps pushing forward, just no matter what. And it's just insane to me, like the resolve, like the courage that he has in doing that. It's crazy.
I was amazed that like the younger me did not get more on board with this guy, because there's one specific moment where the narrator's like, he had no reason to tie the piece of clothing around his eye. He just did it because he felt cool. Yes. And I was like, that is awesome. I'm like, he's a nerd. That's what he is. And he's just like, he ties it around. He obstructs his own field of vision for no apparent reason. It doesn't help him.
That's what I was saying. Like, as soon as he did it, I'm like, doesn't that, like, hinder you more?
No, but it's so dope. It's so dope. It's awesome. I love seeing it. I love that the narrator comments that there's no reason for it. Just so, in case we were unclear, there is zero reason he should do that.
I mean, otherwise we probably would have been like, why did he just do that?
Right, because it doesn't really have... Yeah. I don't know. People would probably... If the narrator didn't say something, I feel like people would be like, maybe that enhances his nen in some way because he's restricting himself. No. He just wanted to tie the piece of clothing on top of his head. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. I appreciate it very much. But, moving on. Let's talk about Palm. A rather interesting character. A character of ups and downs. Kate, you want to start off?
Yeah, I, didn't really like Palm pre-ant transformation, honestly. She just seemed to, keep just causing, trouble, and it just seems like she's generally, dangerous to have around, but after her transformation, I don't know, is her, bad aura just gone? Because it, seems like it almost is.
I mean, I don't know what bad vibes you're getting, Kate. What's wrong with the woman who puts on a necklace of knives to go after a 12-year-old boy who scorned her? I mean, that seems pretty stable.
Yes, so stable. Wow.
I'm still waiting for the filler episode where Palm just goes to therapy because we got even more issues to address now. But Aunt Palm is cool. I like what she does, the connection with her memories and how she's willing to fight and do what she's got to do. I like seeing her interact with the king later on. I like what she's doing, and I hope she sticks around. She seems a lot more balanced now.
Yeah, I don't mind. I feel like she's mostly, to me, just a vehicle for cool Gon and Killua moments. I like her, okay, but Gon explaining what cougars are to Killua and women when he doesn't know anything either, I like that a lot.
Oh my god.
It's so good! It's so good! And very disturbing.
And then when Palm tells Killua Gon needs him the most, that hits different every time.
Oh, it's really
so yeah,
good.
she gave some real good 10 out of 10 moments, but I don't have a lot of thoughts about her specifically.
Yeah, my only thought about her is I'm impressed. I was I didn't care at all about Palm, right? And then she went with the human trafficked people to go to Bezef, and I was like, dang, she's committed to this mission. Because if I am to imply what I think we're to imply, she put it all on the line for this mission, is what I'm saying. And then she gets turned into an ant on top of that. It's a bad week, is what I'm trying to communicate. But she went for it. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. That was a lot to go through. And then she would just be sitting in the Nav space. She's feeling that constantly as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's terrifying. Yeah. I also like the hair ability. I liked her ant hair thing. I kind of liked that, I'll be honest. I was like, I like it. I like its tie to witches and folklore. I think, her whole character is kind of tied with witch folklore, yeah. But I thought it was cool. Nifty nod to other things like that, I thought. But let's move on to Knuckle. And Shania, you want to start?
Yeah, so everyone's going to come for me, and that's okay. I'm going to embrace that at the get-go.
Oh, no.
Here's the thing. Look, I love Knuckle. I like the pompadour. I like the dogs like him. I like his whole thing there.
Don't bring up the pompadour.
The fight at the end where they've got APR on UP. APR is doing so much good, but Knuckle cannot let it go that UP just walked past his boy's chute. He can't let it go. He even has an inner monologue where he's like, I need to avenge him, though it's not really avenging because he's not dead. Like, they could win. He's just got to make a little sacrifice, and everyone understands that. Morel's ready for the sacrifice. Malurion, he gets it. He knows what's up. Everyone's on the same page, except overly angry Knuckle, who's like, yeah, I'll take APR off. That's the logical thing to do in this fight. And then Yuppie goes, bye, I don't care. And I'm like, Knuckle, what was it all for? It was for nothing. You dang fool. All you did was for nothing. And those are my strong thoughts about Knuckle.
I'd imagine, Luke, you have no comments on that. You're probably good to move on.
Well, I have several comments. I have already made several comments this week, and I will continue to make more comments. But please, Kate.
Okay.
We'll go with you first.
Well, I liked Knuckle personally.
Amen.
I liked him.
Yes.
Not enough.
And it's not enough, apparently. But so I really like Knuckles' net ability. I definitely would agree with that. It was not the right call for Knuckle to take that off, but also he was under lots of mental duress. Okay, like his best buddy just got like humiliated. His friend is probably gonna die in the next like 2 minutes if he doesn't do something. So I get it, you know. I understand. I don't agree with the decision, but I understand why he did it.
Better. Cliff, how do you feel about Knuckle?
Yeah, I like him. But why don't you go off, King? Why don't you say what you want to say over there?
Okay. All right. Knuckles the best, and here's why. First of all, APR is an amazing net ability. I don't know how he came up with that, but he's a genius just for thinking about it. Second of all, the whole problem with Knuckle, the only reason they didn't let him enter NGL is because he was literally too kind. They were like, you're gonna not kill the things. That's his problem. So then we move on to the whole operation of the palace. And what's his problem? He's too kind to everything because Knuckles a good guy. Also, Shoot gets humiliated, and Knuckles like, nuh-uh, not on my turf. And yes, it is absolutely the wrong decision. He makes the incorrect choice like 6 times in this arc, and just repeatedly and blatantly he makes the wrong choice. At one point, I love the moment where he's about to punch Yuppie, and like Yuppie like turns back and is gonna hit him, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, I'm definitely dead. Like before Killua jumps in to save him, but I like he clearly makes the incorrect decision several times. But that I like him more because of that. I like him more because he makes the wrong decision, because he's like, he takes APR off because he doesn't want Morel to die. He lets UP go, and even then, even like given the chance to go at him again, he doesn't, because because he recognizes that UP actually isn't a bad guy. I think it's interesting, and he's magical. And he also has a pompadour, which immediately makes me love him. But I like Knuckle a lot, is what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
To be clear, just to come back in, I liked Knuckle. I'm not saying I would be an emotionally sound woman in a fight like this. Let's be honest, I'm more of a Nove type of character. I vibe with the emotional dilemma where he thinks that he can save his mentor. I get that. But the whole, you wounded my friend's pride. No, get out of here with your masculinity. We don't need to care about pride right now. And that is the hill of this that I will die on. Pompadour's cool, though.
I'm not sure how I feel. I am sure how I feel, and I think you're wrong about Knuckle, but that's okay. We can move on. Knuckle's awesome. Let the record show. Anyway, moving on to the next character. Melioron. Do we have any thoughts about the chameleon dude?
I was so excited.
Okay.
I'll just go. I was excited.
No. Go ahead.
To talk about him because we did like the first half of the Chimera Anarch, and like everybody was already crying about like the Penguin Doctor getting axed so early, and I'm like, wow. I can't believe how emotionally invested you are in this already. And then when it came back here, I was like, this is going to be great. This is perfect.
Yeah, it was. Like, him coming in as, like, this character that was so important was unexpected, and hearing, like, just, like, the memories, like, the connection, like, oh, he was my stepdad, and I was like, oh, I knew he was a special guy. I knew. And then we go through this whole thing where he's, like, the most subtle but, like, most important character. Although, that, like, first moment when,
Well, he's not that important, right? Because Luke's character blew it, so he really, he didn't do anything. Because Luke's character dropped the ball so hard that he really accomplished nothing at the end of the day.
All right, Cliff. All right, thank you very much. But no, at the beginning when the fight first starts and like whatever that attack's called where the arrows are raining down, and it occurs to Gon and Killua that they don't actually know if his Nen ability like turns off if he dies, so they're like they could just be lying there like dead, just chilling, and I'm like, that would be so horrible. But he became super cool, and he did so much. I mean, he was scared at first. I mean, he only lasted a good 10 seconds holding his breath there, but he got better. Lung capacity improved. He's no Morel, but we can deal.
Yes, I loved him. I loved his whole vibe that he had going on. He seemed very chill, like, once he got a hang of, like, the whole breathing thing, he's just kind of, like, chilling. And, I appreciated the laxness among the insanity.
I think he's literally wearing sweats, isn't he?
He's always wearing sweats.
It's
like a
so
sweat
good.
track
He
suit.
smokes.
It's like super cool, super chill.
Yes.
He like smokes. His whole thing is like concealing his presence, and he smokes, which is maybe the worst thing you could do to conceal your presence. I love it.
And just like how he approaches Gon too. He's just like, you seem like a good teammate. You want to be teammates?
Yeah, and Gon maybe is the perfect person for that.
What I love most about his recruitment of Gon is he's out there like sending little minions to do test of Gon and figure out if he's trustworthy or whatever. And then he finally approaches Gon and talks to him. And he's like, I'm sure you'll find it hard to trust me, not realizing Gon has already said, yeah, let's be friends and do this. And he's just like, wait, what? What? You're just gonna accept it just like that.
He also...
And Gon's like, yeah, I don't see why not.
He's also like, you shouldn't trust people so quickly. And I'm like, doesn't that work against your current task, bro?
Yeah, I love the argument that he has, like pretty much with himself about Gon being like, wait a minute, I don't know about this guy. And then like he's so skeptical. Gon's like, I know another guy who you should team up with. And he's, like, very skeptical, but, like, immediately is fine. Like, he's with Knuckle, like, he's not, doesn't bring up anything. Anyway, yeah, I like Melioron.
He saw Knuckle cry and be a softie, and that's what got him.
Knuckle is the best, and anyone who would be within his vicinity would immediately be like, we can be friends. But I digress. Let's talk about Icalgo the Sleeper, a sleeper great character for me. But Kate, you want to start with Icalgo?
I love Icalgo. I love his character design. I love how he's so clearly an octopus but is so offended by being called an octopus. Like, it's just, his battle with Killua is so great. Like, I just think also how, like, Killua is just like, yeah, we can be friends now, that's fine, and like he lets him live, and then like Icalgo like changes his whole perspective after like Killua lets him live and like saves his life. Like he was like such a crucial part in like some areas, but was also like such a good comic relief character.
Yeah. He even
Yeah, I
saved like
loved
that
Icalgo.
fight. Like I love Killua, like he's the best, but like that and I love Hunter x Hunter fights in general. Like one of the best shonen fight series ever, but I was not feeling this like Alabama fish sibling fight that Killua found himself locked in with the darts. That was so bizarre and so strange for Hunter x Hunter, but like Icalgo, his little their bro down really made that all worth it, I think.
Icalgo is so fun, and I liked that somehow in the transformation of characters, Killua got to be Icalgo's Gon and like give him hope and friendship. You know, our poor little octopus wants to be a squid, but apparently friendship with Killua is like equivalent to that because he's just vibing on the happy train now and ends up doing a lot of cool stuff. Like I really liked Icalgo, and I liked seeing Killua make other friends and just be like, yeah, we're friends. Don't say thank you. That's not what friends do.
Yeah, it's great. And that Blaster fight, like that was awesome. Like that's so, like that was a really kind of diverse fight for the series. Like that, the way that all played out was really cool. I like that.
Yeah, no, it was really
And
cool.
he couldn't pull the trigger because he's
Yeah,
too good a dude. Too much.
Oh, just a bunch of nice boys
Yeah.
this arc. Since you brought it up though, Cliff, I like this is just really quick, but when I was watching that fight with the dart
Yeah.
siblings or whatever they were, I was just like, this feels like a knockoff stand battle.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was in it, and I was like, this is from JoJo's. This isn't even from Hunter x Hunter. Like, yeah. Anyway, while I was watching that, I was like, this does not feel like it's in the
no
right
knock
place.
to Joe. We love JoJo's, by the way, but I see what you're saying.
No, JoJo's
Yeah.
is amazing, but all I'm saying is the fight, I was like, they're not in the same place. Anyway, yeah. And it was also a little confusing to understand, but, I mean,
Pulls a lot of needles out of his forehead in this arc. He gets that down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, really big on the needle pulling. Yeah, so, moving on, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about Welfin.
Yes!
but he turned out to be a big part of this arc. Cliff, is that you? Is that you got some thoughts on Welfin?
Exactly,
You want to
we're gonna
go?
skip over Welfin. I like Welfin.
I was not going to skip over Welf. He's on the list, and here we are.
He reminds me of like Snake from like Metal Gear Solid. I like that he was just like this undercover guy doing like his own like kind of covert spy ops thing, trying to get ahead. I like him a lot. Another man who immediately balded and got really ugly. I like that about it.
Oh, that was rough.
Yeah, the Kamugi moment he has is really cool. It's like he is the ultimate survivor. That's what I like about him. He just wanted to thrive and survive, and he really nailed it. Like he should have been dead so many times in that arc, but he made it through. And I was so happy to see it.
Yeah, Wolfen was a cool character to watch. I liked his Nen ability. I thought that was interesting, and his like little thing with Icalgo there, and just everything he's doing. He's like trying his best to like weasel his way around, but he's like not that great at it. And then he gets like trapped like deer in headlights in front of the king. And I don't know who went through more mental trauma, him or Nove, during this whole thing. But they are bald and decrepit looking men now. But he at the end when they're in the truck, he's like, I took down the king, and I'm like, you pooped your pants and managed to stammer out a name, sir. You did nothing in this king fight. But okay.
I just love like how his priority at first, he was like, I'm gonna become the king behind the scenes. I like how he just kept saying that. That was like my favorite thing. It's just like he would say that just so often. And then his main priority just became surviving, and that's fine. Too. And yeah, I really liked his net abilities too though, and I really liked him.
I would say he was the king behind the scenes. I think that was clear. Definitely, for sure, definitely. Yeah, but let's talk about Yuppie. Do we have any thoughts on Big Red? Kate, you want to start?
I thought UP was pretty interesting. I think he had definitely a lot of development, which I liked, and like being able to control like the exploding thing more. I loved the battle between him and Killua, and just like everything that he like got more in tune with his powers and all that kind of stuff. And I just thought he was a really good villain, I think, and like he wasn't one of the ones that I expected to have like a struggle with his humanity, but he was. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, UP was definitely like, I don't know, my least favorite of the royal guard there. Like, he was, I think, like least interesting, but also it was cool to see him develop, because at first you're like, oh, his character makes sense because he's just like pure magical beast, but then he starts like figuring out like emotions and how things work, and so it became more interesting to watch. But I liked him more for how the main characters reacted to him, like seeing the fights with Knuckle and everything else, watching those fights, seeing Killua swoop in with a nice thunderbolt move. Like, I liked seeing all that go down. So I liked him more for what he did for other characters than I liked him himself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think Yuppie's an interesting character, but I think one of the things that I think, like, just from watching like a lot of shonen kind of anime and reading a lot of manga and stuff, is it's difficult, I think, for authors to like do things like the Killua versus Yuppie fight without making Killua seem infinitely stronger. And that was something that I thought was really cool about that fight, is like at the end of the fight, Killua ran out of gas and Yuppie was not harmed at all. Like, Yuppie was unable to fight back, and it was like super cool. And if it was anyone, like if it was like a normal person, Killua would have like done incredible amounts of damage, even a normal Chimera ant. But like, I thought it was cool that it like kept the standard of they are way stronger than our main cast. Like, the Chimera ant Royal Guard are way stronger. But it let Killua have this really cool moment, and it kind of kept that dynamic. I thought it was really cool, a cool way to write it in, a cool way to write that fight. But, yeah, if there's no more thoughts on Big Red, we can move on to Neferpito. Shania, you want to start?
Yeah, so P2 was my favorite of the Royal Guard. I liked, like, I guess talking broad scopes, I liked the transformation, and I liked the attitude towards the king. This contrasts a little bit with Poof, who like we'll get into later. But with P2, they were really like, the king is what the king says he is. So whatever the king said went. P2 didn't have any ideas of what the king should be like, and just follow that. And you see that where they start off like, there's this like sadistic, just protect the king, and then they like bust out this maternal instinct. Like, Killua comments when Kamugi's laying there and P2's like protecting, and it's this whole like different instinct, this different side that we see. And I don't think that's anything with P2 caring about Kamugi, but it's more about the king said to do this, and this is what I must do at the expense of anything, and breaks their own arm, which was a little intense. Not quite the king ripping his own arm off, but, you know, I appreciate the spirit. And then the whole kite thing with the goat, and that was a lot, but that was an intense end, an intense thing to see.
Yeah, I would agree as well. P2 was also my favorite of the Royal Guard. I really liked their net ability. That was really interesting to me. And just like kind of like you said too, Shania, just the character development that P2's like gone through this arc, I think is really interesting. And I think we just kind of like saw their like transition from just like feeling like they have a duty to serve the king to actually like fully caring and wanting to like be there for the king, like in more than just like an obligation kind of way.
Yeah, that's what I like that they all like serve him like in a different way. Like Yuppie wants to be the ultimate shield. Like P2 wants to serve Marijuan as like a man, and then Poof kind of like serves him as like, I don't know, like a god or like a king. I like that. It's like they say there's so many ways that you can show loyalty, and like even like the most loyalty you could have could lead to like conflicting actions between a group of people, which I like.
Yeah, it is that is like a super interesting part of the Royal Guard as a whole. But I think one of the things, and we'll move then into a little bit, talking a little bit about Poof too. But one of the things that I think is really interesting is that it appears as if what Poof is loyal to is the idea of a king, not Marijuan himself. And so while like obviously Marijuan is the king and he wouldn't dispute that, he does like all these things to make sure that Marijuan stays on the path that that is the path of the king, quote unquote. And obviously leads him to do some crazy things. But what do we think about Poof? Kate, you want to start?
Yeah, I liked Poof a lot. I liked that his whole like scales thing with he could make like all these little tiny versions of himself. I thought those versions were also adorable. But yeah, I liked Poof. I mean, I think that he definitely should have like let the king like be what kind of king he wanted to be a little more, because he definitely got in trouble like multiple times for like not doing that. I just think that his relationship with the king and his expectations for the king were interesting too.
Yeah, Poof was definitely fun. I liked his abilities, but every time he kept making himself into like the mini fairies, I don't know why, I kept thinking of like the fairy odd parents, and I was like, Poof, you need to stop. I can't take you seriously in your little chibi form here. But I liked his loyalty, but he kept getting so emotional every time he like meant to, like the amount of emotional breakdowns this man had, because he really like was clinging to his idea of what a king should be and trying to hold Marijuan to the standard, and then he's like, I can't believe I thought he would apologize, and P2's like, can you like stop crying on my shoes, man, this is a lot. But like everything that he does like to the very end, and I like at the very end, him and Yuppie get to have that, or not at the very end, I guess, but that weird bonding moment where they bring the king back to life, and just how happy he is to do it. So you know Poof's loyal. Like he's literally willing to let himself be eaten. He's a loyal man. Him wanting to kill Kamugi is because he thinks it's best for the king. He thinks that she's corrupting him. And so I'm like, I do admire that loyalty, but he was just a little bit unstable.
Yeah. It's so we've gone through many a character. So let's now talk about Netro versus Marijuan. We'll talk about both of these people as we talk about this. I think is an okay thing, and we'll talk about several sides to Marijuan. But let's start with Netro. Going into this fight, we find out a lot about him. How do we feel about Netro? Kate, how are you feeling?
I love Netro's backstory. I thought that was just so cool.
Right?
Like, it was just so, like, he decides just to do 10,000 punches of gratitude a day. Like, what kind of person decides that's what you're gonna do to, like, show thankfulness? Only Netro. He's the one that does it. But, like, it's just, he's just so great. I think his backstory is amazing. It's well executed. Like, you see this kind of, like, struggle that he has with, like, having that much power, at the beginning, and just, I just thought he was really cool. He did some amazing things in this battle, and definitely not what I was really expecting his power to be like.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I like, I think a lot of things are cool, but like at one point, even like I think Zeno says, or like mentions that like he has one of the most subtle auras that he's felt, and I think that's like super interesting to know, like because you see him do these punches of gratitude. Anyway, I think it's really cool. But Shania, how do you feel about Netero?
Netro is amazing. First of all, I like the costume. Sorry, I like the costume change he's got going on. We go from a man with long beard and robes to cutting it off and putting on his nice little like uniform. His backstory was really cool. The subtle movements, awesome. I was not sure what to expect going into their fight because Netero's ready to kill a man. He's calm, but he's ready to kill a man. Whereas Marijuan's just like, I just want to talk. I changed my mind about things. And Netero's like, that can't be the choice. We're going to have to fight if you want to know your name. And it becomes the coolest fight ever. Netro loses a leg. He loses a leg, and Mariam's like, "Do you want to just tell me my name? Like, it's fine. Like, just you can heal up, whatever." And Netro goes, "No, I'ma flex my leg muscle so hard that it just staunches the bleeding." And then he loses an arm, and Mariam's like, "You can't do that your ability anymore. Like, that's it for you." And Netro's like, "You fool! You think I need 2 hands to pray?" And I'm like, "Netro, you absolute G." It was the coolest fight ever, and so subtle but powerful, because you see all these like flashy moves and big bangs, whereas Netro's just like moving his hands together, and then this giant Nen just comes and slaps a man. It was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And like you see the king this whole time too, like it's because by that point he's come to this whole new understanding of like humanity. But I love that he gets like slapped and then he just sits back down and is like, "Are you done?" And he gets slapped again and just sits back, like pushes the hands apart. Netero's like peeing his pants, and the king sits back down and is like, "Are you done now?" But I thought that fight was so cool. I don't know, Cliff, you got any thoughts on that fight? Netro, Merom, their relationship?
Yeah, pretty much just echoing the group. Like this is my favorite fight ever in like anything. I like that. I like that. You know, we were the monsters all along. That's a cool theme. The humans. I like the relationship between the characters. Netro's Nen is definitely the coolest Nen in the whole show. It's perfect. It's like perfect from start to finish. It's like, I like that they're both like the pinnacle of their species, and then they look at the other one and all they see is like a bug that needs to be squashed. I like that a lot too.
Yeah, the two powerful forces coming together was pretty cool. I also like what Luke said with the "Are you done yet?" The narrator's comment to say that Meriwether's anger was no more than a tantrum to him, whereas Netro like backed it up. Netro was like, "That aura is too much." But yeah, the like Meriwether thinking he's won, getting his name, getting all of that, and then Netro's like, "Here's the thing you don't understand about humans, Meriwether. We are messed up in the head." And then he, in the theme of Great Hunters Everywhere, just shoves his finger into his own body and activates a bomb.
Can we like just...
And I'm just like, okay, Netero, not the move I expected.
I just want to like appreciate the absolute savagery and just like installing a bomb like that connects to your heart. That's like, when I die, everything's going with me, baby.
For miles away, there's going to be poison in people's lungs. Yeah. No, it's lovely, first of all. It does raise the question of when did he install the bomb? Did he do it just for this, or was it always there? And so at any time, he was taking whatever was around him with him.
Heavy man.
I love, and I think one of the main things, maybe not one of the main things, but a big thing, especially with the way that this arc ends, is that the Chimera ants weren't any more of a problem than people. And I think that this fight ends up showing that. Netro even kind of alludes to that. Especially when we go into like discussing what the little flower is and that bomb and stuff. And so like the fact that like, and we see the king mature all this way. But the point being that it's, humans are still a major problem, or a huge problem. But I think it's interesting. But also, it makes me remember in the Hunter exam, way back in the Hunter exam, where Gon and Killua were trying to take a ball from Netero, and how abysmal of a chance those two children had to ever take the ball from that man. Not even remotely capable.
That's so true.
And you don't know that until now. And you don't really know that until you don't know how incapable they were.
I really didn't think about that until now either. Like, wow. Like, they really stood absolutely no chance of getting that.
They could not. They wouldn't even see the giant Buddha that would hit them. They wouldn't even see it. They wouldn't even see it.
Dude, you know what's blowing my mind right now that you just said that? He uses that fight. He removes his arm and his leg in that fight.
No, is it the same one?
I don't know if it's the same one,
It's
dude, but
gotta
how
be,
crazy
right?
is that?
That is insane. That is
I know.
insane.
I never noticed that.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that at all. Oh my word, you're right.
Bro, take it in.
That's insane. Sucking in that tobacco. Is that? Can we even count that as foreshadowing? That was literally years later, right? That's just man reads his own writing apparently. Yeah, but no, I mean it was an amazing fight. Definitely like you said, one of the best maybe ever. So it's but that brings us around. Well, let's talk a little bit about Komugi then before we move on, and her and the king and their relationship and how all that ended up. Shania, do you want to start with this?
Sure, I got some mad love for Komugi. I like that this little blind, snotty girl is Marijuan's, like, in a way his undoing, but also his strength and betterment. Especially as we wrap up in the end there, we're first, after, the whole bomb thing, we bring Marijuan back. I'm like, okay, did we just like completely nullify everything that Netero did? And then as I'm watching the king, I'm like, oh no, he's different. Like, he's still, like, as soon as he learns where Komugi is, like, he just wants to be with her and just wants to play this game. Like, I didn't understand it first, but man, did it hurt to watch their final game, to watch him be tired. I was not prepared. I was like, they took away him dying in a blaze of fire to have him slowly die with the human he in some capacity loved playing their favorite game, and I did not need those kind of feelings to end this arc.
Yeah, I definitely had serious feelings about that ending moment too. Definitely, brought some tears to the eyes. I was like, I wasn't expecting, like, Komugi to be, like, such an important character, I don't think, but I do like how, like, she changed his perspectives on a lot of things, on humanity, and it also definitely ties into, like, that theme of, like, are humans really any better than this species? Because, like, she says to, like, the king, like, that he is the nicest he was the nicest that like she's ever experienced, the nicest person that she's ever, like, talked to, is what she said. And I just thought that was super interesting, and it brought in, like, that idea again.
Yeah, one of the most interesting, one of the little tidbits in the show, I'm not sure if they do this in the books, but one of the things in the show that I thought was really interesting was we see for a moment from, like, Komugi's mind, like, what she thinks Marijuan looks like. We don't, like, see the face, but we see, like, the body, and it looks almost like a Buddha. Like, he looks like a very like. It looks just. It's very interesting that her perception of him, because of how she was brought up and like raised and stuff, it's like interesting how her perception of him, of this like guy that we've seen as like this crazy evil monster of a being, and she's like, he seems really nice, and he's also pretty good at this game, and it makes it fun. It's just it's cool. It's cool to see. It's an interesting idea to bring the king around, kind of using that. But let's get to our main players. Finally, we'll start with Killua. Killua thoughts on this whole arc? Kate, we'll start with you.
I loved Killua in this arc. It just, like, he was just so amazing. He did just, like, especially the fight with UP where, like, the electricity is, like, first, like, running through his body and, like, he really goes into that, like, intense form. I just, like, I wasn't expecting something as powerful as that. And I was, like, just really excited about it.
Yeah, Killua was really cool. Like, just seeing him uninhibited, seeing these abilities grow, and that whole short-circuiting his reaction time, like the Nen abilities he's developing. It's so amazing, and it almost makes me, like, it's almost like weird gratitude that he was born into the weirdest family, because it should take years to be able to develop that. But where he's gotten with it so far is awesome abilities. And then I like seeing his growth as a person, I guess. Going towards the end, maybe we'll get into this more later, but like his little comment as he's watching, as he's like standing outside, like looking at Gon, and he like says that Gon will need to apologize for what's happened. And I'm like, Killua, are you saying you're not friends with Gon right now? Because you said friends don't need to apologize. So if you need an apology, you're not friends. And what does that mean? And I was like, and I never saw Killua saying something like that. So I'm like, okay, so we're going through some character growth too, where we're developing and changing in our friendships. So I like to see that too.
But, like, also, I feel like in this situation, it's definitely warranted. Because, like, Gon literally looked back at him and was like, you know, it must be easy to be you, because you don't care. Like, that moment, oh, my heart, oh, that was so painful.
Oh, yeah. You know, I did not like that moment. I'm not saying it's not warranted from Killua. Like, I'm not saying he's not completely right. I'm just saying I never expected Killua, who seems to, like, sort of idolize Gon in some ways. Like, I didn't expect him to actually say it. But I'm like, good for you, buddy. Also makes me a little emotional, but good for you.
Yeah. Cliff, any Killua thoughts this arc?
Yeah, just kind of the same thing. Kate said that moment ripped my soul out the first time I saw it. I remember where I was. It was like a moment in my life. I was at home in my house. I was eating an Uncrustable. I think I like spit it out and like curled up on the floor for like 30 seconds because it hit too hard. And then the palm thing where I was like, it was round 2.
Oh,
just
the palm
depression
thing,
round 2.
The palm thing is what
Oh
got
my
me.
gosh, they both hurt so bad.
The palm thing, the first one definitely hurts. I think it hurt me worse the first time. But that palm, when he like breaks down and like just cries in front, like just balls in front of Palm, I was like, ow. I was like, I'm hurt. Yeah, it was definitely, I mean, oh my word. And then he's got the Godspeed thing. That ability was just the coolest thing to look at ever. Right. I'm a big fan of lightning abilities as well. And so that was a really cool one.
I also love how he can just, like, charge up in any outlet.
It's so awesome. He's in the hallway, like, tasing himself with, like, electrical wire. He's like, give me a second, Milarion. I'll be there in a minute. I gotta just juice it up. No, that was funny. Yeah, but so it was a very cool arc, I think. And that combined with the removing of the needle earlier in the arc, and even like I think a moment that really stands out to me is the when Pito first comes at them with Kite there, and like the reaction of Gon like revving up and Killua just knocks him out real quick. I think it's just it's interesting. I really like seeing Killua interact with everything. But so let's talk about Gon then. What are the Gon thoughts? Shania, we'll start with you.
There is so much to process about Gon. It just like I don't even know. His eyes go that kind of like weird, like vague look to them where you're like he's not totally there. And the amount of like I hate what he said to Killua, but I guess I do get it from like the contrast in how like Gon is just whatever emotion he's feeling is 100% at all times. Like you have no doubts or questions of what's going through Gon's mind. And so just how he comes into this fight whenever he's ready to face off with P2, and he is ready to go. He gives no craps about anything. Like he doesn't care about Kamugi. He doesn't care about nothing. He's like willing to give an hour, and that's it. And then P2's just like, what is this aura? What am I feeling here? And going just like in this heightened, like almost insanity, like just because he's so angry. And then I don't know, am I getting into everything later? Like that whole evolution. Yeah. So like when they finally go to fight, and when he realizes Kite is dead, watching him to go through that hurt so bad, because he's sad and then he's angry and he doesn't know what to feel and who to blame. And I'm like, you're gonna just explode. You're gonna literally explode. And then he did explode into like a 30-year-old version of himself that was super ripped. And really, Cliff, you're right. Hisoka should have been there for this. This is the moment Hisoka has been waiting for. And he missed it. He missed the whole thing.
Yeah, he's not getting any riper than that, for sure. That is a yellow banana right there. Prime for the picking.
Plenty ripe.
That's a yellow banana. He's ready. He's ready now. This is the time. That's really funny. What blows my mind about that is the explanation is that he just like he took the potential that he had and used it. So like the thing is like Gon, like if he just would have grown up, it's like that was naturally Gon. Like he could have naturally just been that strong. Like that wasn't like anything impossible for him to achieve. It was just he was like, he's a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Not a grown man. Not fully ripe, as some would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I like the portrayal
Kate,
of...
go ahead.
Just like, I think it's really cool that Togashi was like, this is really what it looks like when someone's going through trauma. Like, that's what I thought was the coolest about Gon in this arc. Like, it would be easy to, like, do the shonen thing and be like, he just transformed because this is the next thing. Like, that's what happens. That's how we do it. He'd bring Killua along because... like that's his boy and they're going to fight him together, but it's like he's so one-track minded and so devastated by Kite that it's like this is the only way he could have ever acted, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, I really liked Gon in this arc, just like his determination and just trying to get like Kite back. And just especially that moment, I think, where, like, he first sees Kite again, and he's just, like, keeps walking up to him and, like, getting punched. And, like, that moment was, like, so, like, heavy on my heart. I was like, wow. And then, like, he hugs him, and I'm just, that moment was just amazing. And, yeah. But Gon does a lot of cool stuff in this arc. Definitely has lots of trauma, lots more piled on top.
Yeah.
Poor kid. Yeah.
Gon is scary. Gon is frightening by the end of this. Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's a really good arc. I really think that it shows like it's a really cool, like, almost role reversal you get throughout this arc with Gon and Marijuan, and like how they kind of, the question at the end becomes, okay, who is the monster? Like, and I think that's, I don't know, I think it's interesting, but yeah, is there anything you guys want to talk about that I missed so far? Okay, yeah, Shania.
I guess just like the ending, like where we leave off, like going into this next arc where, we have to bring in these specialists for Gon, who's on life support, and Killua's got some sort of plan, and then we flash over to Colt for a minute where he's got the like twin thing that was in the Queen's body too, and it's Kite as a girl, I guess. And I'm like, what does this mean? What's going to happen with that? Because that feels significant. I mean, Morel, like, ripped out his IVs and started running to go talk to Killua and Gon. So I'm like, so this is going to be a big deal. And they just, like, threw it in there. It's a little small thing. Like, Colt's just like, yeah, I keep calling her Reina, but then she slashes things with her sword and says her name's Kite, so I don't know. I'm like, what the struggles of a first-time parent, you know?
Colt in the thick of it.
Yeah, that whole ending bit got me real emotional. This whole arc is like Waterwork City here, but like when that little girl ant, like the Reina girl comes back, and like the mom just knows by the body language, it's like, oh, it hurts. I love that. That's a sweet moment.
I love that. And I love, like, Bravada goes with her too. Like, I love that. It's very sweet. I also like that, like, the world is just, like, fine now. They're like, like, the people in charge of the Hunter Association are like, don't worry about the Chimera ants, it's fine. Like, the Chimera ants are not all dead. The king's dead. Most of them are dead. But, like, there are more.
Yeah.
And, like, the extermination is not done, but they're just like, okay, we're done, right? We're done with that. We did the thing. And we really didn't even do the thing. If it wasn't for the bomb inside the old man, we would have lost. We would have absolutely lost. Yeah, but, yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about I missed? All right. So then let's go over favorite characters. Shania, let's start with you.
So favorite character with the mains would be Killua. His growth. I mean, I guess he's overall my favorite too. Just watching his growth through all this, watching like him grow in his Nen abilities, which are super cool, and then just grow as a person and like his maturity and the way he views friendships and the way he's like doing all this stuff. I'm like really, really vibing with Killua's journey. So yeah, so he's favorite character.
Kate, what you got going on?
Killua, definitely still my fave. For basically the same reasons as Shania. Lots of growth, during this arc. Love the Nen abilities, the lightning. It's just great.
Oh yeah. Cliff.
Yep. Killua is the best.
Wow. Killua all around the board. Killua is really cool, but he's not my favorite. And if it's a shock to you, my favorite, which has classically been Morel for years and years, but I switched my favorite. My favorite is Knucklebine because he's amazing, and I love him so much. It's not the Pompadour. It's not just about the Pompadour. It is a little bit about the Pompadour, but not entirely. Yeah, no, I love Knuckle. I think he's an amazing character. And, yeah, he's my favorite. But, so, that leaves us with, how do you feel that the Chimera arc stacks up against the other arcs in this show so far? Kate, we'll start with you.
I think that it goes really good, like, flowing with the other arcs. It's not my favorite, personally. honestly, at the beginning, I was like kind of off to a rough start. I didn't really love it at the beginning. I wasn't sure where we were going, but towards the end, they pulled me back in, definitely. Not my favorite, but definitely still a good one, I think, so.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. With the startup, it was hard for me to get into it. I was like, okay, is this really what our arc's gonna be focused on? We're gonna do this whole Chimera ant thing, and then they did it, and then it got real. Everything got like real. Like everything before this kind of felt not like a game, because there was some real stuff. I mean, when we were squaring off against the Phantom Troop and stuff like that, but this was like real. Like people have died. Gon and Killua are going through trauma together. And it was like, it made me hurt. It made me feel. So there was a lot I really liked about it. I don't know if it was my favorite just because of the balance between like good feels and like, okay, you could have, maybe not crushed my heart this much kind of feels. But it was a good arc. I liked where it fit in, and I liked what they did with it.
Yeah, this is my favorite arc in the whole show by far. I think this is an amazing arc, but yeah. Cliff, any thoughts on the arc?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's my favorite. My pattern is like up until this point, it just every arc, like my favorite arcs are like in order from like I don't like every arc that we currently read is the best arc, so it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
I think I like this one the best too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely do. But yeah, if nobody has anything else, that'll do it for us this time. Thanks so much for listening to the Pillowfort podcast. Next time we'll come back with the last arc of Hunter x Hunter, at least of the anime. So, the last arc that we'll be doing on the podcast, which if you're reading with us is chapters 319 to 339, and if you're watching, it's episode 137 to 148. Yeah, so like and subscribe if you liked anything we had to say, and we'll catch you next time.